going on, guys? Justin with Z1 Off-Road. Today we're going to be installing the full Z1 audio speaker upgrade on Lauren's D40 Nissan Frontier. Now that we have Lauren's truck pulled into the shop, first thing we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the battery. All right, safety. Now that we're in the front seat of the vehicle, we're simply going to just pull off the door panel. So we have a plastic trim removal tool. There's going to be a couple 10mm bolts. There's two back here, one back here, and then there's a wired connection for the power doors and windows. We'll just need to unclip that. So first thing, we're just going to pry off this door handle here. Sounds pretty violent, but they just all unclip there. So we got two 10mm here. There's going to be just plastic clips around the bottom and the sides. Those just need to get popped out. Okay. Just got to depress this clip. Your window switches are out. Everything should just lift right up. We'll come around to your side and do the same exact thing. Door panel's off. So now our door panel's been removed. We just need to remove our speaker grill. We have an 8, and we're going to remove these 4 here, and we're going to reuse this plastic trim that the factory speaker sits in. Pop straight out, and then we will disconnect our factory speaker. Now that our factory speaker has been removed and disconnected, we need to remove this trim panel because we're going to reuse it. Now, our new speaker, the driver is a little bit deeper than the factory one, so we're gonna have to trim this little piece of plastic out of here, but we're gonna remove this out of the truck first. And then there's a harness that's clipped to this little trim piece. We just need to unclip it off this trim piece. All right, so back on the driver's side, we're gonna remove the door speaker out. We'll move this trim piece. Okay. So now that's all removed. Okay, cool. So we're here on the bench, and I wanted to show you how we are gonna modify these brackets here, but I wanna show you the reason why. So here's our factory speaker and the factory driver. This is our upgrade. See how much bigger that is? So what's gonna happen is when we place this speaker into our grill, there's gonna be a few things we need to modify on the factory brackets. Okay, as you can see, we wanna trim out this piece here, and you can use just some little snips here. We've already marked it here, but essentially we're just gonna remove this thick plastic piece here, and then there's a little tab right here that we need to snip off here. So first thing we're gonna do is just snip that guy flush. He's gone. Okay? All right, so we just snipped off this little end piece here. And we're gonna take some snips or some scissors. And it's real thin plastic, so it's nothing too crazy. We're just gonna go and make a nice little arch to give us enough room for our speaker driver. Doesn't need to be perfect. Like I said, this is all hidden away behind your door speaker, simply removed. So now, when you place your speaker in here, you're seeing there's no interference in your driver. We're gonna do the same thing on this one. Okay. Oh, I need to clip off my tab. Okay. So speaker fits right in there. We're just gonna mount it back up and reverse that process we just put it. So I'm just gonna take the 4/8 that we just removed. We're gonna pop the speaker back into the factory bracket that we just modified. Now that we have our upgraded audio control speaker mounted into our factory modified bracket, We cut off this flange here. We remove that little tab. So we're ready to reinstall. But before we do that, we are gonna wire our crossover. So plug and play, nice and simple, can only go in one direction, and it's already hooked up. So what you'll need to do is find a nice clean location, clear of any moving parts. So things like your power windows. What we're gonna do is we're gonna stick it right under this little crash bar here. So this is an older truck, it's a little dusty in there. So we're just gonna clean it with some glass cleaner in there, just so our double-sided tape has something to clean to adhere to. Doesn't have to be perfect. No one's gonna see it after you get it closed up. I'm gonna wipe that off. I'm gonna peel our tape. We're gonna cinch it down and stick it right there. Okay, double-sided tape. Once you get it clean, it ain't going nowhere. All right, so then you just need to hook in our upgraded speaker into the plug of your crossover. Like I said, only goes in one way, so it's impossible to mess this up. Fish your wires back through. There's a factory little pin location, and then you just use your existing 10s that you just pulled out. That is the installation of the front door speakers. Start them by hand, cinch them up with the 10. Obviously, you want to be very careful. You don't want to strip these threaded holes, or you don't want to crack your plastic here. So just be careful when you're tightening those in. They don't need to be too tight, just enough to keep them in place and not rattle around when you're driving around. So then we're going to drop in our door panel. It's just going to cinch into the top channel like so. It'll rotate down. You'll hear those clips pop back in place. So we have the 3 10s. One's going right back here behind the door handle itself, and then the other 2 are on the pull handle. All right, now with our door panel back installed, pop our harness back together. Put our power switches right back in place. And last thing is this one. Driver's side door's done. Let's move to the passenger side. Pull my tape. Stick my crossover down here. Give it a little pressure. Keep it from rattling around in there. Okay. Now that we have our crossover mounted, we're gonna hook our crossover into our speaker. As you can see, there's these little pins here. They're gonna coincide with these little holes here. And then we'll just stick them back in the door with our 10s. And then we'll put our door panel back on, this up in the top. Let that rest in there. Click in my window regulator switch. Put that in. Front speaker's done. All right, now we need to do the ones on the dashboard. So now that we got our door speakers installed in the front, we need to pop off our little speaker grates up here. You're gonna need a little plastic trim removal tool. So there's just 4 little clips that are in these 4 corners here. And then there's 3 little 8 mils, I believe. Factory tweeter out. Okay, so we're up on the dashboard. We've removed our factory tweeter from the dash. You're gonna see this brown plug here. This brown plug from the factory harness is gonna plug into our crossover. Again, just like our door speaker, we need to sit this crossover. There's actually a little pocket. So if you feel down in here, you can go a little bit to the side of the driver's side, and you'll be able to fit this guy down in there. So we're gonna pull the tape. We're gonna wedge him all the way over here, tuck our wires, and we're gonna just press him up against, there's some hard plastic in there that we're just gonna press him up against, and he is now secure. Okay, so now that we have a crossover wired, black to black, blue to blue, you see there's a little spade terminal in here. There's the female end, the male end, and they just slide together and they just cinch each other down, okay? So now we're gonna drop our speaker down into the hole. Make sure we're not binding on any of these wires in there. Okay, press that down in there. And then we have our nice aluminum speaker grill. It's gonna sit down right on top. And then use those existing 7mm bolts that we just pulled out. Sweet, next side. Again, we're just gonna slide this crossover down, sticky side around the harness, along this back side. And it should stick right to the side here. All right, so now with our crossover hooked up, we're just gonna hook up our spade terminals. Blue goes to blue, okay. Now, smush all our wires down, make sure everything gets down in the spot. And then this one here, it has a little tether on its speaker grill, just so it doesn't pop out and hit you in the face in an accident for your airbag. So just be careful of that, to leave that all attached. We're simply just gonna slide our cover back on, and the front speakers are installed. Time to move the back. Pop our plastic clips, lift it out of our window. Same thing, and disconnect our speaker. These look like all tins all the way around. Probably want that upwards. Here's where we're gonna replace that process we just took off. And come into the bracket. So you just saw us complete the door speaker upgrade in the D40 with the coaxial speaker upgrade. Now, the only modification, just like with the D40 kit, is gonna be if you upgrade the rear speakers to the component set. What that's gonna do is it's gonna allow us to set the tweeter here in this location that's a little closer to your ears, gives you a little better sound quality, and we're gonna show you how this does. So essentially, with your door panel removed, you're gonna put the speaker in this little spot here with this little weird design. It kind of looks like a gear in between these two posts here, and we have a nice custom template for you that'll show you exactly where to mark and drill. So first thing what we're gonna do is we're gonna just tape over the spot just to give us a clean surface to mark. Okay. We're gonna take our cool little 3D printed template here. We're gonna sit that right in the middle and hold it down. And we're just gonna mark a clean little circle. Okay? So now that we have our template centered and marked, we put a center hole in there, and we're just gonna go slow. We have a 1 3/4 inch hole saw. It's a little smaller than the tweeter, so we're gonna be able to massage it outward, but we're gonna just start in the center and just go nice and slow. As simple as that. Okay, we're gonna peel that off. We got our little deburr tool, and we're just gonna run around the edges. Take the plastic off. We'll flip it around, do it to the other side, clean up our hole. All right, so the 1 3/4 inch hole saw is slightly too small for our tweeter to fit just slightly perfectly in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean it up with this little die grinder here. Go slowly around. Drop my tweeter in perfect. So you see how my flange covers my hole perfectly there. We're just gonna flip it over to the back side. We have a little baby bracket that's just gonna go right here on the outside here with this 2.5 millimeter Allen with a little washer on the back while I'm supporting my speaker from the back side. And you may need to slightly bend your bracket depending on how big your opening is. It doesn't need to be crazy tight, just enough to keep a little tension on the back side of this speaker. So we're just going to make sure it's centered and that our logo is lined up and our tweeter is installed. So back under the truck. So we're back in the truck. We have our coaxial speaker hooked up already, like we showed in the just normal door speaker install. So essentially, we're gonna wire our crossover. So plug's only going one way. We're gonna plug in our crossover. We're gonna plug our crossover into our door speaker. Click. And then we have our tweeter in the back of our door panel. And we're just gonna wire it into our crossover. We're gonna open these tabs on our tweeter. We're gonna go black to the black one. Jam that in, close it down, give it a little tug, and that is safe. So we just need to find a spot to mount our crossover. And I think I'm just gonna peel my double-sided tape and stick it right on the inside of my door panel to keep it right out of the way of all the clips. I'm gonna peel my double-sided tape, and I am just gonna essentially tuck my crossover along this little corner here, keep it up out of my speaker. And then once everything's connected, we just hook our door panel back in. Everything's out of the way. Click my clips back in and just reinstall everything like normal. Window switch regulator in. Clipping all my plastic trim pieces again. There we go. Cool. So all the door panels are back in. Door speakers are installed. Last and final thing, we're going to hook up our negative terminal again. So that completes the install of the complete door speaker upgrade for the D40 Nissan Frontier. You saw us install the rear door speakers and modify our door panel for the upgraded component speakers. So if your D40 is in the serious need of an audio upgrade, upgrade your door speakers with Z1 Audio and Z1offroad.com today.